Yo, JD here, Tyrolimus, and as you can see, we are on F1 2021 here today, but this is a very special video. As you can see, there is no webcam. The quality is of a potato, and that's because I am on PlayStation for the very first time. These are my first lobbies ever, and I recorded this directly from the share feature from PlayStation itself. Future videos will be back in normal quality, so if anyone keeps asking in the comments, obviously they just haven't listened to this first part of the video. But yeah, this was a very intense introduction. As you can see, GFO Miltos88 is on pole here, and these 5-lap races, there's 3 of them today, were probably the most intense 5-lap races I've ever had in my life. And this guy is, well, there's a lot of people on PlayStation overall, but this guy was just absolutely rapid. The guy in the Red Bull Miltos88. I've linked his YouTube down in the description if you want to go check him out. So yeah, we were just doing 5-lap lobbies here. If you want to be guaranteed a slot in these lobbies, which I get asked all the time, then make sure you become a YouTube member. You have to be on your PC to see the join button of my YouTube channel. So if you go to any one of my YouTube videos, or if you just go to my YouTube via your PC or desktop, click that join button, get access to my Discord, my upgraded setups, and first priority invites for all platforms, because I race on all platforms now: Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. And you will also get a permanent discount on any one-to-one coaching you book with me at coachlimitless.com. But you can see here now, the pace is very strong at the front. And as I said, we're showing 3 races here today. And honestly, I don't think I've come across someone this fast in an open lobby. I'm definitely still getting used to the PlayStation, but my times were pretty good already as we dispatch the second Red Bull of FCT the Best, who also seems to be a very good driver himself. You may notice not my gamer tag, but my PSN, if you want to get technical, is Surreal Prodigy. I've had a PlayStation account for many years, but just haven't used it or accessed it, or I didn't have a PlayStation between. So this was a name I first came up with around 10 years ago. I will probably be changing it, but yeah, it looks kind of weird. Feels strange not to be running my normal name, but we will maybe do something about that very soon. But back in this race, we managed to get into 3rd place here. We've got DRS Neil, who is a YouTube member of mine, and this guy called Miltos88. I think he is Greek, if I'm not mistaken, and he really likes to push nice and early. It's like this guy has unlimited ERS. He is not waiting around whatsoever. He is giving it the absolute full beans. And as I said at the start of this video, no webcam here. It's in 720p, aka potato cam. That's because I was taking it directly from PlayStation itself, because I didn't have a capture card at the time. Now I do. So this will be the only video of its kind. But sometimes videos not in high quality and raw actually give it a bit more of a realistic experience, maybe. Or maybe I'm just talking rubbish. But anyway, right here now I am pushing very hard, making sure I'm staying in the DRS zone. So that is the goal. So I'm going to try and save as much ERS as I can, as we do set the fastest lap of the race. So that is a good side at the very least. But the problem is I'm in the 3rd man in this DRS train, which I've always gone on about quite a few times in my videos. This is the place where you don't want to be. Really need to be in 2nd place really by next lap if you want a chance of actually winning this race. But you can see again, guys up ahead, they're pushing really hard. So I was hoping that they were both expending their battery power. So I'm going to try and get as close as I can without using as much battery as possible, as the game has decided to switch it or glitch a little bit here. So we're just going to try and be as close as we can without overusing the battery power. Because I was hoping for the last lap that I could maybe get 2 in 1. And that was kind of like the game plan. But you've seen it from F1 Esports and you've seen it from League Racing. You don't want to be the 3rd man in the DRS train. You want to be the 2nd man in it. That's definitely where you want to be. So these guys are still pushing very, very hard. And you can see the guys behind are no mugs. But we've managed to break out of that DRS zone and pull about a 2-second gap. So the pace is absolutely relentless at the moment. Let's see what we go across the line. It's another 27. So if you're lapping consistently in the 27s, then I'd say you are very, very fast if you can do that. Extremely fast. So it had me thinking that these guys must be running quite low on the battery power here now. So coming off here again, I'm going to use a little bit of a boost just to get as close as we can, but then we decide to turn it off. I know there'll be many, many people screaming at me in the comments, why are you not using the battery? But at this moment in time, there really is no point at this moment in time. I really want to just try and keep back as much as I can. So I'm going to use a little bit here, just again to try and get nice and close, carry that momentum going up the straight, going through the old Silverstone turn 1, and yeah, again, I'm pushing very, very hard here. For an open lobby, this is definitely one of the fastest open lobbies that I've been in for quite some considerable time. Coming off here again, could be using a bit of the battery here, but really want to be saving about over 60% coming into this last lap. You never know how much you really do need. So I was predicting, again, looking at this, it looked like Miltos is just trying to create as much gap as possible. So I had the slight glimmer of hope that he would be very, very low on the battery for the end. So now we're going to push as we can. He does a 26.8 without the DRS. That is, yeah, very, very fast. If you do a 26 without DRS, that is extremely fast. And I looked this guy up after these races as well, and he's got quite a few world records on PlayStation. So I think in terms of speed, I think this man is, if not the fastest man on PlayStation, or one of the fastest at the very least. So right here now, I feel like I was in quite a good position here, where again I'm trying to be as close as I can. DRS Nil has probably been able to save a little bit more ERS than Miltos, since he's had the benefit of the DRS. So I'm using it here to carry that momentum, and at this point I thought, you know what, we could actually maybe win this race depending on how much ERS these guys have. But coming from Maggers and Beckett's, you'll see the problem with following another car this close. Had a little bit of understeer going through that. Right now I'm using this ERS here, and DRS Nil, does he run out? Yes, he does. He actually decides not to defend the position, but Miltos has now run out, so he was low, but he just had enough of a gap. And coming into chicane, he actually goes semi-defensive. Don't think we're going to be sending it from that far back, and he comes across the line to win this race. We do set the fastest lap of the race for a little bit of pride, but this man is very, very fast. And for me, this is really, really exciting. I love going against people who push me to my limit, and these drivers are certainly doing that right now. So instead of looking at it in a demotivating way, for me, this is what really, really motivates me to just keep on improving. So we're at Jeddah now. Grid is pretty much similar again. So this is round 2. Miltos on pole again, because we were using realistic grid positioning, but the cars are equal. Let's carry through into here. A little bit of a side-by-side action up at the front, and the key is to not let him get away. So again, I'm in that position where I've got some cars between myself and him, so I really need to try and dispatch them as much as possible. As you can already see, he's actually starting to create a little bit of a gap. So that was a bit concerning to me. So I really do need to get a move on. But my setup I have here is probably one of the best setups I've had installed, which is actually available on my Discord as well. So if you are a YouTube member, clicking that join button, you will be getting access to that. This is the setup I actually use on all platforms. It works very, very well. And you can see again, Miltos has built up a bit of a lead. So he really likes to really start off very, very fast. He's not about conserving the battery at all. He really likes to push and use his speed to get out of that situation. So I need to get past this guy, FCT the best, once again, like we did at Silverstone. So not using any of the battery here. I knew my car was very, very fast in a straight line. So we're going to maybe think about going around the outside, deciding to think a bit better of it here. So trying to get a good exit, hitting the wall, which is going to disrupt our momentum ever so slightly. But now we're going to be using the battery and doesn't pull up too much of a fight. And our straight line speed should be better than most of these guys. Considering what Seb, I believe they will probably be running on the wing aspect. So now we're into P3. Really hoping that DRS Neil can hold on within the DRS zone, because it looks like he's almost broken out of that DRS zone again, which is not good news. So he's already 1.5 seconds ahead. So coming through it here, we get a really good exit coming off this corner and going to this cabin corner. DRS Neil actually decides to let me go, which I don't know if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing, because I was really hoping he would try and stay in his DRS. But at least we are not the third man in the DRS train. So now it's literally a straight fight on raw speed, almost losing the car there. And again, I knew my car was probably going to be faster in the straight line, considering the wings that I actually use. And it's just going to be a straight fight on raw speed now. So absolutely taking the mick a little bit with the track limits. Probably knew that wasn't going to be valid, but we're going to use one of our cards of the invalidations, get 3 of them, and you get a 3-second time penalty. So we've gained about 3/10 on this lap so far. Coming off this corner, we're going to be using the rest of our ES, so we have to get aggressive now. We need to get within the DRS zone, so we do set the fastest lap of the race, which is comforting. Coming through into this turn 1, we decide to take that a bit early, so that's our second warning. So one more of those and we get a 3-second time penalty, so we can't afford to cut any more corners. However, turn 4 allows you to do just that, and we've actually got back within the DRS zone, so really, really good first sector so far. And do we get in the DRS? The answer is yes, and now we can actually save a little bit of the battery. Jeddah is definitely one of my best tracks in terms of speed. Really, really enjoy driving this track, and we've managed to close in 6/10 in a lap and a half, so our pace is definitely there for around here. So straight line speed is going to be good, so we're going to use a little bit of the battery again just to get a bit closer than we are. And we've already again broken out the DRS zone to the cars behind, who are definitely no slouches themselves. So now we are going to make sure we don't get a 3-second time penalty. We have these 2 DRS zones, which are so helpful around this track. You can see how much time it actually gains you. It gains you a huge amount of time. So come off the exit here again. No need to use the battery right now. So 2 purple sectors so far coming across the line. What's this going to be? It's 3 purple. It's a 28.2. So now we are exactly where we want to be. However, how much battery power does he have? But at this stage, I actually had quite a good battery power myself. So right now, all I'm going to do is just sit behind him. No need to overtake. We really don't want to be the car leading going into the final lap around this track, especially if you've got an equal battery percentage. So you can see once again, he is extremely fast. There's a reason why he's got many world records. He is very fast, but has him pushing at the start of the race cost him in terms of the battery power? So coming through into here, all I'm making sure now is that I'm just staying within the track limits. Don't want to ruin this race by getting a 3-second time penalty. And you can see in a straight line once again, we are gaining ever so slightly. So it does confirm he's probably using a little bit more downforce than what we have, but that doesn't matter, because if you stay in the DRS zones, you've got these 2 huge DRS zones here, and this is just gaining me absolutely free that time. We actually decided to turn off the DRS, which, to be honest, I don't really know why I did that. Maybe I thought that he was going to let me go, and maybe just sit behind me for the final lap here. So we've got the DRS once again going across the lines, 29.2. We actually turn off the DRS because I don't want to get too close, just in case he decides to maybe let me go, because I had a feeling that he might be doing this. And he actually decides to pull off to the right, so suspicions confirmed. He doesn't want to be leading going into his last race because it is such a disadvantage. So now we are in the absolute box seat. But you've got to be careful. You don't want to be going too early. You don't want to be overtaking too early. Otherwise, with those 2 DRS zones at the end of the lap, you could be in a bad position. So right here now, I thought to myself that we pretty much got this race in the bag unless we make an absolutely huge mistake. So using no battery coming off here, which is interesting. Now I decide to use it at a very random time, so I'm not sure why. But it's really key that we get a good exit coming to the straight, which we do. He gets a very good exit, so it looks like he's going aggressive with the battery power now. So are we, using up momentum, saving that battery for those final 2 DRS zones. But we can't afford to go off wide as he has done. He gets a very, very good speed going through into this corner. So we're using the battery power again, but then we decide to turn it off, which his red light is flashing now. So we need to get an absolutely insane exit of this last corner, and we have just left it too late. And in a nutshell, he just completely outsmarted what I was doing there, or I just wasn't aggressive enough with the battery at all. So pretty much threw that race away, if I can speak properly. Just being way too conservative with the battery on that final lap, underestimating the speed that he had through the corners. And that is round 2 to Miltos. So obviously after those 2 races, I was very, very determined to try and get my own back. So now we arrive at China for round 3, and he is very, very fast around here, which you are about to see. So we're in the AlphaTauri this time, lining up on the front row, so I don't have to worry about overtaking some other potential drivers. He gets a very, very good start. We get a pretty average one, trying to get a good launch off the line, but we managed to maintain our position into P2. And now, once again, it's going to be a straight head-to-head fight against this man from Greece, and the traction he gets off the corners is just absolutely ridiculous. It is. I'm not sure what assist he uses. I think he uses the line and ABS potentially, but that's a whole discussion for another video. In my opinion, I'm really not too bothered about who I'm racing against in terms of assists, because I know you have to drive the wheels off it regardless, and I'm perfectly happy running no assist. So that is ultimately my choice at the end of the day. But the speed he has is just absolutely crazy. So coming through into here, I felt I was a bit stronger going through corners such as this, although I just made a big mistake here. But once again, his traction is just absolutely insane, the traction he gets coming off these corners. So I'm having to use the ERS again. So he's a very, very aggressive driver with the battery power, whereas with me, I normally like to save quite a lot of the battery power at the beginning and then use it at the end. He's very, very confident in his pace that he can maybe even break the DRS zone and then just literally just hang on from there. So we've got to try and stick within the DRS zone again, which is going to be quite difficult. Coming across the line, the gap is about 0.8 of a second, so we are only 2/10 away from losing that DRS, so we've got to stay within it. I love that. Going through these corners, I felt I had a bit more speed going through long twos. A very different choice of lines going through into. He likes to go a bit wider here. I like to go a little bit tighter typically. Having to use the battery once again just to make sure I'm in the DRS zone. But it's kind of like a magnet where I just can't get closer than 3 or 4/10. It's like he's got a magnet on the back of his car. I've got a magnet on front of mine, and they're just repelling against each other. I just can't get within the gearbox of him going around this track at all. So going through these 6 corners, he is very, very strong. You can see he's gaining quite a lot of time on this exit. And the car behind me is actually closer than I am to the leader. So going through to here, managing to do this quite nicely this time. And I'm having to drive much harder than I would like to do typically at the start of the race here. So using the ERS again, so I'm just having to use so much ERS just to even keep up, and we're still not within 5 tenths at this stage of the race. Coming through to a really heavy braking zone, managing to do that relatively okay, but once again the traction he gets is just really pretty impressive as we're almost losing the car here. So this is a window of opportunity. He does a 32.2 and we are just barely hanging on by a thread. It's absolutely crucial that we get within this DRS zone. If we don't get in this DRS zone, then I think he is just going to pull away in this race here. So luckily the car behind has had somewhat of an issue, so there's no threat from behind. So I'm just fully focused. And you can see how much ERS we are having to use here. So we do set a purple sector 1, doing a really nice first sector. See, a little bit of a mistake on the exit, so it does show he is human after all. Coming through into here, just washing away a little bit through the dirty air. Trying to stay nice and tight going into this double left and doing this quite well. And I think off this is not too bad. So the detection point is after this corner. So after this left going into the right. So making sure we're going to be well within the detection point, which we are. So we do live to fight another day. And now having to use the battery once again. So now I really want to try and get much closer than I have been. But you can see the ERS is under 20%. So we've had to push so hard in this race. And again, his straight line speed is absolutely insane. It's like this guy doesn't run out of the ERS at all. It's like he always has ERS no matter what. It's just like he's an AI car or something like that. So coming off here again, he gets an absolutely insane exit. And we actually do set the fast lap of the race of a 32.1. So now starting the penultimate lap. My goal was to try and just get even closer. Just put a little bit more pressure on. So the closest I've got is really going through corners such as this. But then later in the lap, he just seems to pull away. And just the release he gets coming off the corners is something I just can't quite match at this point. So I'm driving the best I absolutely can right now. I'm actually being pushed to the ragged edge. And yeah, I haven't had to drive like this for quite a while. Especially in a 5-lapper, being pushed this hard. And as I said before, this is what I absolutely love. I love having these intense races where you're having to almost push yourself to a new level. And I'm certainly having to do that here, as once again, he just gets such a good release coming off his corner. He's still got 8 tenths, so we've still got about 20% of the battery. So I was really hoping that he would start around. So this time, I'm actually gaining a bit more in a straight line. So it looks like he's not using the battery going down the straight this time, as we're going a little bit deeper. So we actually make a bit of contact, and that might have helped us ever so slightly. So we didn't mean to do that at all, but this is the closest we've actually been, I think, to starting a lap. So coming across the line, gap is about 5 tenths of a second. So I need to be much closer coming into that final straight. So just trying to distract him in any way I can. Really put the pressure on. But I'm so low on the ERS, as we actually get a very good exit. So this is definitely the closest that we have been so far. So coming through into this first sector, really crucial that we get a good launch coming off here. And we do get a pretty good launch. So this is definitely the closest we have been. Now going through into this section. This is where I actually struggle a little bit, but we actually done this quite well. Still no hint of a mistake from him. Going through to this double left, we managed to execute that apex really well, and he's made a bit of a mistake. So is that pressure the first mistake he has really made in this race? And coming through into it, this is the closest easily that we have been so far. So unless he's got a big amount of ERS, I think we're going to have a good chance of trying to make this overtake going down the main straight. So he's going to be weaving like Max Verstappen going down the straight. We do have the DRS and the ERS, but still The red light is not flashing for him, so do a little bit of damage. Go down the inside. The red light is now flashing now. Who breaks later? He breaks super, super late, making a bit of contact with each other, and we've ghosted between each other for some reason. No idea why that's happened. Trying to give it everything for this last corner, but then we just lose the car, and GG to him. He deserved to win that race as well. Not sure what happened with the ghosting there, but I think he still would have come out on top regardless. Man, that was absolutely awesome, and that was such a intense way to start my PlayStation experience. So thank you to everyone who's joined those lobbies. GG to Miltos, to everyone else. Join my YouTube membership. Click on the join button if you want a priority invite to these lobbies. I'll be doing many, many more on all platforms. Hope you have a great day and catch you soon. Peace.